Harry's been in Angola this week, following in the footsteps of Princess Diana. What's his trip all about, and is it any more than a beige imitation?
Folks, we've got some piping hot tea brewing straight out of Angola. You thought the Sussex saga couldn't get any spicier? Honey, buckle up, because Prince Harry just got a very public, very unroyal smackdown in Angola, with local officials slamming the door on his 5-star hotel dreams. Can you believe it? The man, the myth, the royal civilian, apparently, was told, "Nah, fam, you ain't getting that presidential suite." But that's just the amuse-bouche, isn't it? The real question is, how exactly did the self-proclaimed relevance re-asserter end up sleeping in, well, let's just say, something a little less palatial?
He's been patron of it since about 2019, so it's not his first trip to Angola, but the difference this time is that he's going to be walking the exact route that his mother Diana did in 1997.
So, get this. Our boy Harry rolls into Angola fresh off the private jet, probably expecting the usual red carpet treatment, maybe a few trumpets, definitely a 5-star hotel with a mint on his pillow. And what does he get? A welcome so low-key, it made a library seem like a rave. Seriously, President João Lourenço met him with the enthusiasm of someone checking their mail. No titles, no formal ceremony, no red carpet, just a handshake that probably felt like a job interview. It's almost as if the Angolan government got the memo, "Oh, he's just Harry now? Right, standard procedure it is." Now, you'd think after ditching the pomp and circumstance, he'd be all about that humble humanitarian life, right? But apparently, the memo about humble didn't quite make it to the accommodation request. And that's where things got awkward.
They were absolutely a blockbuster sort of revelation, the fact that she was in such a dangerous area, and it was so profound and brave of Diana to do this, and of course it led to an international ban on landmines. So the fact that he's doing the same walk, he's very nostalgic, and look, it is a bit of a carbon copy of what his mother did, but
because while Harry might be trying to rebrand as humanitarian hero, his team, bless their hearts, was still sending out requests for diplomatic level amenities, usually reserved for actual, diplomats. We're talking presidential suites, exclusive dining, private security detail provided by the local officials, the whole shebang. It's like showing up to a potluck with a silver platter and expecting everyone else to bring paper plates. Angolan officials, polite but firm, basically said, "Bless your heart, sir, but you're a civilian now." Standard rooms for standard folks. You can practically hear the collective gasp from his PR team, can't you? Imagine the conversation. "But he's royalty." "Sir, with all due respect, he's here for a charity, not a coronation." One has to wonder, did he bring his own tiara just in case they changed their minds? The audacity of asking for the royal treatment when you've publicly opted out of the royal duties is a level of chutzpah that frankly deserves its own Netflix special. But the Angolans, they were not playing along with the fairy tale.
Once the king's passed, I think that'd be even more difficult for there to be that reconciliation.
I agree. I mean, it's a conversation he has to drive, he has to extend that olive branch, and he has to make peace with his father, because as you say, once...
Now, the official line from Angola was steeped in policy, of course, very diplomatic. They said Harry wasn't visiting in any official capacity, held no governmental or intergovernmental appointment, and was, for all intents and purposes, a civilian guest aligned with a non-governmental organization. Translation, you're not representing a nation, you're representing, well, yourself and a charity. So, you get what everyone else gets. It's like applying for a loan after declaring bankruptcy and expecting a VIP interest rate. They were polite, sure, but they weren't about to roll out the red carpet for someone who, by his own choosing, is off the official guest list. No special security beyond the Halo Trust team, no diversion of state resources, and definitely no 5-star suite, just the standard digs. It's a good lesson in knowing your current standing, isn't it? Because if you expect the perks without the responsibilities, you might just find yourself in a very comfortable but decidedly unluxurious standard room.
Cutting him any slack in that department as well. He's learned to operate within the royal framework without his younger brother for all sorts of reasons, and that's a very sad situation for the brothers, but Harry really has to patch things up with his father, as you say.
Now, and this leads us to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? The man who stepped back from senior royal duties to seek independence is now experiencing the full, unfiltered taste of that independence. No crown, no automatic protocol. It's a bit like quitting your high-paying executive job to become a freelance consultant and then being surprised when you can't get into the executive lounge anymore. His security, travel, and accommodation expectations have been a debate for years, and Angola, in its understated wisdom, just decided to answer those questions very clearly. They essentially drew a very thick, very public line in the sand. And frankly, it's a refreshing change from the usual royal circus, isn't it? Because accountability, even for former royals, is always a good look. The Angolan officials, they weren't being rude, understand? According to one senior official, they've seen too many instances of celebrity visitors arriving with the intention of helping, but leaving behind more headlines than infrastructure. They welcome the presence, but they don't bend national protocol around public image. Now that's a statement, isn't it? It means they're not interested in the Instagram moments. They're interested in actual, tangible impact. So, when Harry's accommodation request landed on their desks, it was evaluated through that lens: cause, not crown. And let's be honest, that's a level of focus most of us can appreciate. It's a subtle but firm declaration. We value your cause, not your crown. And if that doesn't humble a man, I don't know what will. It's almost like they're saying, you want to be treated like a celebrity humanitarian? Then act like one, not like you're still waiting for the Queen to send over the royal napkins. This denial, quiet as it was, sent a clear diplomatic signal: appreciation for support, but without indulgence. Respect for Diana's legacy, but no assumption of inherited status. A seat at the table, perhaps, but certainly not at the head of it. It was about positioning. Angola, in its quiet way, put Harry right where they believed he belonged for this visit. Among humanitarian guests, neutral, not foreign dignitaries. It's a subtle statement, but a powerful one. Because when you've based your entire public persona on being a royal, and then you shed that title, you're basically starting from scratch. And sometimes starting from scratch means you don't get the penthouse. The real question is, did this subtle yet undeniably firm message actually sink in? Or is he still wondering why the minibar wasn't complimentary? Now, his personal identity has always been a tangled mess of public expectation and private desire. Stepping away from royal life was framed as a move toward independence. But, as Angola so eloquently demonstrated, that independence comes at a cost. Without an actively used title, without the backing of the crown, Harry's presence no longer commands formal protocol. It's like showing up to a VIP concert after you've sold your backstage pass. You're still famous, sure, but the bouncers ain't letting you through the private entrance anymore. And it begs the question, if the name alone isn't enough to command special treatment, then what does he stand on? What's the foundation of this new independent Harry? Because right now it looks like it's built on a slightly less impressive hotel foundation than he was hoping for. The aftermath of the denial was, according to sources, pretty awkward for Harry's team. They had to scramble to revise logistics. Private security had to be coordinated independently, transport routes modified for lower clearance. It was a stark reminder that things have indeed changed. Harry is now functionally an individual operating on borrowed influence. And, as Angola clearly showed, not every nation is willing to pretend otherwise. It's like showing up to a high-stakes poker game with a handful of Monopoly money. You might have the chips, but they're not real. And when Diana visited Angola in 1997, she didn't just walk a minefield. She walked it without a camera crew trailing her every move. Her visit was about pushing the Ottawa Treaty, not creating a personal narrative arc. She brought political pressure, not just headlines. And that's the difference, isn't it? Because humanitarian work isn't about the performance. It's about the cumulative, the continuity, the cultural immersion, and above all else, humility. And sometimes humility comes in the form of a standard guest room.